Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Seahawk Recap Show with your host, Ryan Koki. And welcome to News of the Week, episode number 14, the mid-season mark. And how we all feeling after week 9? Wow, I'll tell you, as a Seahawks fan, I'm feeling pretty depressed and downtrodden after we got completely and utterly obliterated by the Ravens this week. Other than that, I'm feeling great. It was a great week of football. So let's get into the show. But before we get into it, I'm just going to say thank you guys for watching last week's video. That is now up to 700 views, 15 likes, and 4 comments. You have no idea how much you guys mean to me. Your support is great. Even if you've just been watching for a little while, even if you click onto the video just to give me a view or a like or a sub, it really helps me out. We're at 14 subscribers at the moment. I really appreciate every single one of you that comes to my videos to watch me. And without further ado, if you liked this video, please consider giving it a like and please consider subscribing if you really liked it and would like to see any future content from me in the future. Enough of me rambling. Let's get in to the episode, shall we? It's the mid-season mark. Let's start off with the week 9 buys. So the Broncos had a bye at 3-5. The Lions had a bye at 6-2. The Jaguars at 6-2 as well, and the 49ers had a bye at 5-3. First on the docket, we start off with Thursday night football, Steelers versus the Titans. And at this point, it's 20-16. Steelers win. They're now 5-3, and the Titans are 3-5. And we look at this, and the Steelers, I don't know how they're doing this because they have been outgained in yardage wise, in total yards for their entire season. Yet they are still 5-3. So, the thing that you're supposed to do on an offense is gain yards. Well, the Steelers are deciding to win without gaining yards against their opponent. It's just a masterclass by this Steelers defense. And when Kenny Pickett needs to show up for a late game drive, he shows up. So it's a very odd tactic for an NFL team, but I'm all here for it. They're 5-3, seems to be working. We'll see if that works in the playoffs. And for the Titans, guys, I know you lost this one, but honestly, your future looks bright with Will Levis. And now you guys can now fully commit to a rebuild and try to look better for next year. Plus, there's 9 games left. Anything can happen. Next on the docket, we have Frankfurt, and it was in Germany. So the Chiefs and the Dolphins, 21-14. Chiefs win in Germany, in Frankfurt, 7-2 now on the year. And the Dolphins are 6-3. The Chiefs are leading the AFC. And you know what? Some of their games, I don't know what it is. They're losing to some teams like the Broncos and only putting up 9 points, and then they go up against the Dolphins and put up 21. I don't understand how that happens, but I guess a win is a win. Nice to see them at 7-2. And for the Dolphins, you guys are a little bit slippery in terms of slipping down the order a little bit, but still 6-3 is a very sustainable record, and I think you guys can still work things out. So keep on trucking. The Falcons versus the Vikings, 31-28. Vikings win that one out. The Falcons are 4-5, and the Vikings are 5-4. Now, newly acquired Josh Dobbs gets them the win after Kirk Cousins got injured last week and tore his ACL. So, you know what? Josh Dobbs is a pretty good pickup for the Vikings. So, nice to see from them. And Falcons, you guys have got to figure something out because you guys are still in the NFC South. So if you still want to compete, this division is still wide open. Again, like I've said for multiple weeks now, I think you guys can still challenge for the playoffs in the NFC South. That's how close you are. You just need to stop committing small mistakes. Speaking of the NFC South, we get to the Saints, the leaders in the NFC South right now, at 5-3 versus the Bears now, and they go for a 24-17 win. against the Bears. The Bears are now 2-7. And for the Saints, if you guys can string a few wins together, and I mean like a few, if you can string maybe 2 wins together in succession, you guys could be a lock for this playoff spot. Honestly, that's how close you guys are. For the Bears, we know what you are. We know where you're losing. We know you're trying to rebuild still. So honestly, keep on losing because you guys have probably one of the best chances to not only get the first overall pick because of the Panthers trade, but also maybe get another top 5 pick, maybe a top 3 pick in this year's draft. So keep on keeping on with what you're doing there. Next on the list, we got the Packers versus the Rams, and this was a better showing from the Packers this time. 20-3, a nice dominant win. 3-5 looks better than 2-6 Packers. I know this is not the season you guys wanted, but you beat the Rams here in a pretty convincing victory. And for the Rams, you guys signed Carson Wentz this week, and maybe he can help out relieve Matthew Stafford if he's out, because now you guys need a quarterback more than ever. So welcome Carson Wentz to LA. Next on the list, we have the Patriots versus the Commanders. 20-17. Commanders win and are back in the win column. For the Patriots, again, it's a lost season. And you know what? Your offense has been really bad this season. So honestly, Josh McDaniels is on the free agent market in terms of coaches. Would you consider bringing him as an OC back to the Patriots? Because honestly, he worked out brilliant with you guys. So who knows what'll happen there? Maybe that's an option. For the Commanders, good to see you guys 4-5 after making all your moves with Chase Young being gone and Montez Sweat being traded. Honestly, being 4-5 with Sam Howell is not too bad. Sam Howell has kept improving over the last couple weeks, and you guys are looking bright for the future. We get to the worst game of my life. It was the Ravens versus the Seahawks. If you would like to see my full reaction, my full 15-minute video that I just ranted about this game, I would highly recommend going and watch that, because these are just my true reactions, man. These aren't scripted. These aren't anything. This is literally like right after the game I record these. So that's my pure raw reaction. Good for the Ravens at 7-2. You guys are leading in the AFC North, and it's nice to see. For the Seahawks, man, I just don't know what to say. I don't even want to look at this team right now. Next on the docket, we have the Texans versus the Bucks, and it was a very, very close affair. Bucks, I would not feel ashamed about this. You guys were so close in winning this game. 39-37, Texans win. 4-4 for the Texans, man. If the Texans finish with a 500 record this season, that is a big win. I know it might not seem like much, but DeMeco Ryan is going to turn this franchise around, I think, along with CJ Stroud. If he keeps playing like a god, he will definitely be a star in this league. For the Bucks, again, like I've said multiple weeks, this division is wide open, but now you kind of have no room for error. If you fall 3 games below 500, there might be an issue with coming back and winning the division for playoffs. This makes me feel better as a Seahawks fan. At least we didn't get shut out. It was a 27-0 victory for the Browns this week. 5-3. The AFC North is so dominant. This is just a dominant division. Who had the AFC North being one of the closest divisions in football? I certainly didn't. Good win for the Browns. For the Cardinals, again, we know what you guys are. Kyler Murray's coming back next week, hopefully, and we'll see what happens. You're 1-8. Keep on going, because that tank for the number 1 overall pick never stops. And speaking of the number 1 overall pick, we got the Panthers versus the Colts next, and it's 27-13. Colts win. 1-7 for the Panthers. And guys, at this point, you have to figure things out. You gave up way too much in the draft for Bryce Young. I'm not saying Bryce Young didn't deserve to go first overall, but I think having to trade away your 2024 first rounder and then having this team be as bad as it has been, is really unacceptable. And all that for a QB of the future. You better know what you're doing because at this point, it really doesn't look good for you at 1-7. For the Colts, nice bounce back, 4-5. Honestly, you guys could take second in your division, and it's really nice to see. Keep on going, because Colts, your future looks really bright, and I can't wait to see what you guys do next year and for the rest of this season. We get to the next game, and it's the Raiders versus the Giants. Great game, 30-6. What a dominant win for the Raiders, and that means interim head coach Antonio Pierce beats his former team. Yes, he was a former player for the New York Giants. What a sweet feeling. And you can just see it happens in hockey and it happens in the NFL. When there is a coaching change, when there is a change of culture in a locker room, you can really start seeing people have fun. You can really start seeing some dominant wins. So, Raiders, this is now your chance to rewrite the wrongs and try and push for the playoffs for the next 9 weeks of football. But for the Giants, 2-7, and you guys just can't catch a break. I'll get to that in a minute. And this season is a season to forget for you guys. Hopefully, you can bounce back in 2024, 2025. We get to the Eagles. It's an NFC East matchup, and this one, another really close one. 28-23. Eagles win it out. 8-1 now. Eagles, I have a question for you, Eagles. You guys have been winning off some close games, like one possession games kind of thing. I hope you guys can get some of that magic on either offense or defense to make it so that you're not giving your fans cardiac arrest every time they watch an Eagles game now, because if you do this kind of stuff in the playoffs, you could slip up and this could be a problem for you guys. But good win nonetheless. 8-1 now on the season. You're leading the NFC, and if you can just keep off rattling wins, you'll be in the playoffs before you know it. For the Cowboys, though, 5-3, not too bad for the Cowboys. I think you guys are quite decent. I think you guys will have a decent time in the playoffs, depending on who you come up against. But just keep pushing for the seeding, and we'll see you guys hopefully in the playoffs. We get to the Bengals versus the Bills. It was a 24-18 affair. Bengals win it out. They're now 5-3. So that AFC North division it's insane. Like 7-2, 5-3, 5-3, 5-3 now. So really cool to see the NFC North really representing. And for the Bills, 5-4, man. You gotta rewrite the wrongs of your ship. I know you guys have been injured and dragged through the mud this season, but the next man up mentality needs to come through, and I hope you bounce back in week 10. For the final game for this week, we have the Jets versus the Chargers on Monday Night Football. Chargers win it out 27-6. Honestly, this was a dominant win. 4-4, both 500 now on the season are the Jets and the Chargers. So Chargers, this is a chance for you guys to really just hit the reset button. You guys have immense talent, and you still could potentially beat out one of the AFC North teams for a playoff position. You just need to not make much more mistakes, and you need to play some really good football to do so. Hope you get the win next week as well. For the Jets, you guys are really missing Aaron Rodgers, huh? Zach Wilson, I don't know what's happened with him, but he was just getting sacked a lot. He's been holding on to the ball a little too long. I hope you guys can bounce back in week 10 and keep your playoff hopes alive. Next, we get on to the week 9 IR report. And this one's a shorter one, but still some major injuries I wanted to talk about. First up, we got Dallas Goedert, Eagles tight end, November 6th, placed on IR for a fractured forearm, is expected to miss the next 4 weeks. And man, the amount of injuries this season, especially on IR injuries, is just insane. Like, if I was going through the entire injury report of every team, we would be here for hours just dealing with doubtful injuries, people that have questionable injuries, people on injury reserve. It's nuts. This has been one of the worst seasons, I think, for injuries. And I said I was going to talk about the Giants, about their luck recently, and it looks like they just can't have nice things. Daniel Jones is on IR now, November 6th. he tore his ACL, out for the season. And with Tyrod Taylor now being on IR because of his rib injuries, now they're starting a undrafted rookie, Tommy DeVito. He will start versus the Cowboys, and Matt Barkley will be his backup. Honestly, Daniel Jones and Dallas Goedert, I hope you guys come back from your injuries really strong, because, man, these injuries have just been terrible to you guys. Next up, we have Cam Akers, and this one sucks because if you know me and if you've been watching my videos for a while since the channel started, you will know that I have a soft spot for running backs. And for Cam Akers, Vikings running back, he was placed on IR November 6th with a torn Achilles. And this one is his left Achilles. He is out for the season, and he tore his right Achilles in 2021. And as a running back, you need those. And this really sucks. I really hate to see this. I hate to see season-ending injuries in general, but for Cam Akers, you've got to decide now whether you can make it back and stay healthy, because honestly, now you've torn both Achilles and it doesn't look good, because even as a running back, your career is very limited and it just looks like you're injury prone. Is it time to hang up the boots? Is it time to hang up the cleats? Because you can never be too careful with your health. But I hope if you can come back, I hope that you come back in 2024, 2025 stronger than ever, and show us a bounce back season off of that injury. Next up, we have some very exciting news. Montez Sweat, the end, is having a contract extension. He was traded at the trade deadline last week to the Chicago Bears, and now he is extended. And I love this guy, man. I really do. But let's get into some of his stats and break some of this down. 2019 was his rookie year, and he had 16 games played, had 29 solo tackles, 19 assisted, 7 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. His ELC was $11.64 million, signed in 2019 to 2023 with the Washington Commanders. 2022 season, he played 16 games, had 27 solo tackles, 17 assisted, 9 sacks, 1 interception, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 touchdown. And in this Commanders outfit, remember, it was the D line of this Commanders defense was Montez Sweat, Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, and then Chase Young. Those 4 guys are one of the most scariest D lines in football. Like, they were insane. So it's just insane what these guys were able to do. In 2021, he had only played 10 games, had 12 solo tackles, 11 assisted, 5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles. And the only reason why he played 10 games was he was injured in 2021 because of a fractured jaw. And this most recent season, he is 27 years of age, has played 8 games, had 17 solo tackles, 11 assisted tackles, 6.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and he was traded to the Bears for a 2024 second round pick, and now has signed off of his ELC into a massive extension, $98 million for 4 years, $72.8 million of that guaranteed. The contract will end at age 32. And honestly, he's deserved it. I know there were a lot of people on Instagram where I saw the news where some people were like, overpay. You know, the only reason why he has those numbers is because he was on that monster of a D line in Washington. And although that may be true, look at the amount of forced fumbles this guy has had in his career. Look at the amount of sacks he's had in his career, even with the D line being that good. It's just insane. And with Chicago, now he is a main staple on that defense. He's a guy that you bring in to be a cornerstone, and he can teach younger players that you bring in, and he is a great piece for a rebuild. So good on him to get his bag while he can. And I'm rooting for him in Chicago because I really like him as a player. We get to the final thing I wanted to discuss in this episode, and that is the mid-season playoff picture and my predictions. So Let's start off in the NFC, shall we? If these teams stayed like this, which I think they will, the only thing I think will change is who represents the NFC South in the playoffs. I think the Seahawks will make it. I think the Eagles will make it. I think Dallas will make it. 49ers, Vikings, and Lions. I think it'll be that order kind of thing. First off, we start off with the wild card games, and we got the Seahawks versus the Saints. And I think honestly, the Seahawks will beat the Saints or anybody from the NFC South. I think we're just a very good team that way. If we can fix some of the errors that we've especially had in the red zone, if we can fix some of the offensive errors, the defense has been playing great and stalwart basically almost the entire season. So, if we could just fix some of our offensive errors, we could be a very good playoff team. In terms of the Cowboys and 49ers, I think the 49ers come out on top of this. And honestly, it's just because it's the Kyle Shanahan system. I think the Cowboys are very good, but I think ultimately, I think the 49ers are just better with the additions of now Chase Young, Javon Hargrave. Plus, you've still got the old guys there in Nick Bosa. You got Eric Armstead, who's always been a reliable source. You got a bunch of people on the defense, and you got like Debo Samuel. You got Brock Purdy. Like Kyle Shanahan can bring any quarterback into that system that he has and make them look like gods. They almost beat the Eagles last season, and they probably would have if Brock Purdy was in there for the entire game. So I'm not betting against Kyle Shanahan. I think he takes that wild card matchup. And I picked the Lions here against the Vikings. The only reason why I picked the Lions is because I think it's their time. I think it's their time to come in and compete for the divisional round. I think when you got a guy like Dan Campbell, who's a coach of the year candidate, and you've got all those talented guys on that roster for the Lions, Jared Goff is playing arguably one of the best years of his career. Amon-Ra St. Brown's there still. David Montgomery's still there. And you got people that run through a wall for this guy. When you have a coach that you will run through a wall for, you can find some very surprising strength in your team. And I think they take it out on top. When we get into the divisional for the NFC, I think it's the Eagles over the Seahawks in this one. I just think, despite if we fix some of the issues that we've been having on offense, I don't think we'll be able to beat the Eagles in this one. I just think they are too powerful of a team. But hey, we might. Crazier things have happened in the NFL playoffs. So, and the next one I got is the 49ers versus the Lions. And again, I'm picking the 49ers, man. I'm picking the 49ers to go to the NFC title game because we know what the NFC is. It's these two teams right here, the Philadelphia Eagles and the 49ers. I think the Lions will surprise and could surprise, but if I'm picking anybody, I'm picking the safe bet. It's kind of boring, but I'm picking Kyle Shanahan's 49ers for this one. Ultimately, in the championship game, I think it's the 49ers. If they have a healthier team, I think honestly, if they have Brock Purdy, they almost beat the Eagles last time without Brock Purdy. So, you know what? I think Brock Purdy will take them to a Super Bowl this year because I think the Eagles still, again, like I was saying in the recap, they have won some very tight games, and I know they're 8-1, but that could easily have turned into a 6-3 record. Like honestly, it really could have. So you need to be very much more careful in the future because if you keep playing like this and it's only a one score game, you might end up losing it. But on the AFC side of things, you got the Steelers at the Miami Dolphins. And honestly, I think if the Steelers make the playoffs, let's just look at that for a second. All AFC North teams will have made the playoffs. If it stays the same in the AFC, that'll be the first time an entire division has made the playoffs since 2002. That is literally when I was born. That's 21 years. That would be incredible. And I honestly really am rooting for that because that would just be an insane thing to witness. But I think the Dolphins, with their high powered offense, will beat the Steelers into the dirt. Not to say that the Steelers' defense is garbage by any means. They've basically been carrying the Pittsburgh Steelers for the majority of the season, in my opinion. I just think it'll be a too tall of a task when the Steelers' offense has really just been struggling all season. But we get to the Jaguars and Browns game, and I think honestly, the only reason why I'm choosing the Jaguars at this point is we know who the QB is. We know who is going to be very good for them. We know that Trevor Lawrence is a very good QB, and PJ Walker has his moments. Deshaun Watson has his moments and can. Kareem Hunt has his moments. And that's the reason why they're at 5-3. But I just don't think that the same thing with the Steelers. It's the offense for me. It's the offensive firepower, and it's just a big question mark at QB on who is better at this point. But I think Trevor Lawrence and the Jags will squeeze it out. And we get Baltimore and the Bengals. I'm choosing Baltimore in this one because honestly, after going up against Baltimore, their offense and their defense, that entire team is so balanced. And, it's just insane because Lamar Jackson is known as a runner. He's one of the most elusive, electrifying runners in the league, but he can also pass it. Don't pay attention to the people that hate on Lamar Jackson and just say he's a glorified running back. No, he can pass it, and he's made some very smart decisions with the football and having a triple threat option where he can, is he going to run it? Is he going to QB fake it? Is he going to hand it off? Or is he just going to pass it over the top? Because you can do all three things with Lamar Jackson under center. And I think, honestly, if the team stays healthy, they can make the playoffs and they will go far in them. In the divisional, I'm choosing KC over to make the AFC championship because honestly, I think again with Patrick Mahomes, with all the things that have gone on in this season, you still got Patrick Mahomes, you've still got a very good defense, and honestly, I think if they can shut down Tyreek Hill like they just did in Frankfurt, there is no there's a shot for Miami, but I don't want to bet against Patrick Mahomes again. He's just such a good quarterback. We get to the next game, and to meet them in the AFC Championship, it's going to be Baltimore, man. Again, just like I said, they're so balanced. They can hit you at so many different ways. Their defense also is immaculate. They lead the league in sacks right now, and they have the pick leader in interceptions right now in Geo Stone with 6 interceptions. They can find the ball, they can sack you, they can put you under so much pressure, and that's why I think they make the AFC Championship game. And who I'm taking the Super Bowl for both teams, it's going to be the 49ers and the Ravens facing off in the Super Bowl for Super Bowl 58. And I think, honestly, this could go either way, but I honestly think it's the Ravens' turn to win the Super Bowl because, again, just a super balanced team if they're healthy. And this is just all based off of speculation if they're healthy, but anything can happen in the playoffs. So the 49ers could prove me wrong. The Seahawks could go into the Super Bowl this year. Who knows? But those are my predictions. I'm picking the Super Bowl champions to be the Ravens. I'll come back at the end of the season and see how wrong I was because, ultimately I'm going to be wrong. It's a prediction. That's just how it goes. But anyways, that is it for the Seahawk recap show, episode number 14 of News of the Week. And I will see you on Monday as the Seahawks host the Commanders for week 10. Let's hope we can bounce back and get a win because if they lose to the Commanders, I will basically weep on camera. There's no doubt about it. Anyways, this has been Ryan Koki of the Seahawk Recap Show signing off. Let me know if you like my predictions, if you hate my predictions, and if you do hate my predictions, I would like to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Just keep them civil. We're all football fans here. It's all a bit of fun, and hope you enjoy the rest of your week.